Hi everyone, and welcome to our video on some exam questions related to cell biology. Our first exam question states, the diagram below shows a single-celled alga which lives in fresh water. Which part of the cell labeled above traps light for photosynthesis? So which one is involved with photosynthesis? It's obviously the chloroplast. So we can just write in chloroplast, and that would get us 1 mark. And now it says which part of the cell above is made of cellulose, and that's the cell wall. Okay, so we can just write that here, the cell wall, and that would be worth 1 mark. In the freshwater environment, water enters the algal cell. What is the name of the process by which water moves into cells? So water moving into cells, it's a type of diffusion called osmosis, and that would be worth 1 mark. It says give the reason why the algal cell does not burst. So if water is moving into the cell, it's going to fill up with water because water is moving from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. So why does this algal cell not burst? Well, it's because the algal cell contains a cell wall. Because of that, it provides a barrier to prevent it from bursting. Okay, so the algal cell contains a cell wall. Okay, and that would be worth 1 mark. Okay, next question. The alga can photosynthesize. Complete the word equation for photosynthesis. So water is with carbon dioxide. So water is with carbon dioxide, and that's going to produce, using light energy, glucose and oxygen for 2 marks. The flagellum helps the cell to move through water. Scientists think that the flagellum and the light sensitive spot work together to increase photosynthesis. Suggest how this might happen. So the light sensitive spot attracts the light, and light is needed for photosynthesis to occur. The flagellum helps the alga to move. Okay, so the light sensitive spot attracts the light, so it attracts the light and tells the flagellum to move towards that. So, and tells the flagellum to move towards it. And what will happen? More light means more photosynthesis. So more light means more photosynthesis. Okay, and that would be worth 2 marks. Okay, multicellular organisms often have complex structures such as lungs for gas exchange. Explain why single-celled organisms like algae do not need complex structures for gas exchange. So single-celled organisms are much smaller than multicellular organisms. So single-celled organisms are going to have a large surface area to volume ratio. So single-celled organisms are going to have a large surface area to volume ratio. Okay, and because they are smaller, they're gonna have a shorter diffusion distance. Okay, so they're gonna have a shorter diffusion distance, and so the gases can easily move through the membranes. Okay, so the gases can easily move through the membranes. Okay, and that would be worth 3 marks. Next question. The diagram below shows a cross section of a plant root. The transport tissues are labeled. What is tissue A? So we know that this is the phloem. Structure A is going to be the xylem for 1 mark. And we need to name 2 substances which are transported by tissue A. So what's going to be transported? Minerals and ions. So minerals and ions, and you could have also had water because it's the xylem. That would be worth 2 marks. Phloem is involved in a process called translocation. What is translocation? So remember, it's the movement of sugars through the plant. So it's the movement of sugars through the plant, and that's going to give you 1 mark. And now we need to explain why translocation is important to plants. It's because where are the sugars actually made? The sugars are actually made in the leaf. So the sugars are made in the leaves. Okay, now these sugars need to be transported to the other parts of the plant by phloem. So these sugars need to be transported to other parts where they can be stored or used to produce energy. Okay, you could have also said that they produce proteins in the plant to help the plant to grow. Okay, that would be worth 2 marks. Next question. It says plants must use active transport to move substances from the soil into the root hair cell. Active transport needs energy. Which part of the cell releases most of this energy? Nice and easy one, it's the mitochondria. Mitochondria releases the most energy, of which active transport requires. Okay, final question now. Explain why active transport is necessary in root hair cells, and it's worth 2 marks. So active transport is needed to move the ions and the sugars through the cell. So it transports the ions and sugars through the cell. And remember, it's moving from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration, so it requires energy and moves against the concentration gradient. Okay, and that would be worth 2 marks. And that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. And one last thing, please subscribe, hit the like button and the notification bell.